Hello and welcome to Snyk Live. I'm one of your hosts, Brian Clark, go by Clark you on the internet. And for today's Snyk Live session, we're going to be learning about Capture the Flags, or CTF, if you will. And we're going to get the 101 version for folks that are beginners like myself. And we're going to have two fantastic folks that are going to teach us about this and help us learn more about how we can partake and participate in these types of events so that we can learn and improve our skills as developers that need to know about security. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our two other hosts, Micah and Kyle. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, good to see you both. Thank you so much for doing this. And I'm looking forward to learning from you both on like how to approach this, because I'm a noob and I could use some help from on this front. Like, I don't even know where to begin. So I'm looking forward to it. Shall we jump right into it?
Let us do that. And let's see. Can you see my screen okay here?
Yes.
Do you see? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Let's start here. We'll keep this up for just a moment. So you are in the CTF 101 workshop. A few things you need, which if you're a developer, you'll probably have most of these already, but just a little bit of housekeeping. We want to make sure that you have a good text editor, that you have Node.js and Python 3 installed. And this is particularly important if you're on a Mac platform. Mac still comes amazingly with Python 2, ships with Python 2, even Monterey, the latest version. So go ahead and install Python 3. Curl is built into Mac, but we want to make sure that you have curl. And then if you could go and register for Snyk at this link, snyk.co/Snyk-workshop, that'll take you just a minute. Bonus, you could go ahead and install the Snyk CLI. There's instructions for how to do that. Don't need to do that. And in fact, I just want to say up front, having Snyk is not a Snyk account is not a requirement for this workshop, but one of the hints, it will help you get a leg up on figuring out one of the challenges. So not a requirement, but it'll give you some help if you want to do that. The most important thing here is at the bottom of this slide, go and register for the CTF, ctf-101.snyk.io. I know we're throwing a lot at you here, kind of upfront work, but go and register for the Capture the Flag if you want to participate in it. If you want to just sit back and learn a little bit about CTF, you could do that too, but I think you'll have a good time if you kind of jump into it. And if you want, you can join us on Discord. We have this channel on our DevSecCon Discord, CTF 101, and that's a good place to drop questions. You can even drop your own hints there. We definitely encourage talking amongst yourselves to help figure stuff out. We'll go over some ground rules in just a minute, things like no spoilers. But and I will be coming back to this slide, so don't feel like, if you didn't get it all set up right now, that you missed out on something. We're going to do a little bit of overview, and then we're going to come back to this slide so you have it as a reference to go and get yourself set up for the actual challenge. But first, we're going to do a little bit of introduction here. So I'm Micah Silverman. I lead our DevSecOps acceleration team, which doesn't tell you a blessed thing about what I do. I run workshops like this, and I help train other people to run workshops like this. And we do workshops in all kinds of different languages and platforms, and they're all security awareness languages. And while they're not focused on Snyk's tools, a lot of time the punchline is, hey, Snyk will help you with this. I'm a Java developer for the last 27 years. And if you do the math, that since it was released, so this is where I like to say, get off my lawn, but also don't hold that against me. We support lots of languages. If you're not a Java developer, no sweat. I've co-authored books. I contribute to open source software. I'm a DevSecOps chapter leader. I like to build full freestanding arcade machines. And if you play Dungeons and Dragons, I am a chaotic neutral. That means I like to mess around with people. I like to cause grief for other people, but not in a really harmful way. Just, often at their own expense, often at my expense. I was just talking with Kyle before this. I can also take it since I dish it out. So I kind of delight in getting trolled myself. So that is me. Let me turn it over to Kyle so he can introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kyle Suero, and you can see my tag right there. That's how you can find me on Twitch. And you can also find me on Twitter, basically, teaching people about cybersecurity. On Twitch, I like to do hacking live streams, so I'll do CTF challenges live, like Hack the Box and Try Hack Me. So if you're interested in that sort of content, do feel free to stay in touch. I'm happy to answer any and all questions. I've been a full stack engineer at startups. I have been a systems administrator for a hospital of 27,000 computers. So I've been around the block once or twice. And I've spent a lot of time as a security engineer at companies like Reddit, iSIMS, and Clear. So happy to talk all things that go beep boop and help you figure out how to get started on your security journey. So definitely do feel free to join the Discord and chat with us there, or reach out to us directly.
Nice, very good. All right, without further ado, let's jump into it. So we're going to talk about what is the point of CTFs, like why bother really, except aside from the lulls, and what is this flag we talk of anyway? Now, if you're joining us and you have done CTFs before, you may know some of this, but if you're brand new, you're right at home here because we're going to go over a lot of the basics, and then we're going to work on these two challenges together. And the cadence of that, the way that's going to work is we're going to introduce the challenge to you, and we're going to talk about some general CTF skills, like the kinds of things that you want to look for. We're going to turn over the challenge for you to work on for a little bit, and maybe Kyle and Brian and I will just chat a little bit while we give you some time to do that. Then we're going to come back and give you a hint and give you some more time, and then we're going to give you the solution. Now, I think we'll have enough time to do both challenges, but we'll get entirely through the first one for sure. And maybe we'll be able to do all the way through the second one as well. So the first one is JavaScript based. The second one is Python based. And I will tell you, if you're not familiar with the language that's involved in the CTF challenge, don't let that throw you. I am not a Python expert. I'm barely able to move around the language. And it took me a little doing, but I did figure out the second challenge using some of the CTF skills that we're going to be talking about. And, punchline, Google is your friend. Google is encouraged to be used. With that in mind, let's talk about, well, what's the point here? It's a really great cross-functional system when you talk about capture the flag challenges, because it's not just about languages. It's often about databases and protocols. It's really about poking around the edges of these systems to find a way in that's unusual or kind of helps us think outside of the box. So for me, it's a way to keep the saw sharp, as they say, to keep practicing and to trying to figure out things. It's kind of like the Rubik's cubes of the electronics world here, and it gives you some tools to learn. You become a little bit like Sherlock Holmes in picking up on subtle clues and searching around. You do want to avoid direct spoilers, though. For instance, if you go and do a Google search on SneakCon 2021 Invisible Ink solution, you will find it. So you want to be smart. You want to be savvy in your Google searching and not give yourself a direct spoiler, because they are out there. And there's a lot of CTFs and there's a lot of overlap in the types of problems that they'll throw at you. So you can kind of learn to do some sneaky Google searching that won't yield you a very specific, one step 1, 2, 3 to solve a problem. One of the coolest things about it is that it really is intended to be social. It's a team sport. I've been at security conferences where it's literally an air-gapped room full of computers that are on a LAN, and it doesn't exist outside that room, and that's really fun. In a format like this, it's also really fun. There's a lot of lively chat, and sometimes you literally have to be on a team to participate in a capture the flag. Different ones have different rules, and in our case, everybody's going to be working individually, but we do encourage you to use the chat and to communicate, and it's totally okay to ask for help. I want to say up front, as much as I enjoy CTS, if I had to grade myself, I give myself probably like a C plus. When I join a CTF and there's like 20 plus challenges, I am very happy if I solve 3 of them. So, if you're a little intimidated by CTF, I want to reassure you, I am very good at what I do. I'm very happy with the work that I do. And if I solve 3 out of 20 challenges on the CTF, I'm also very happy. So, your mileage may vary. Some people, crush CTFs, they finish everything, they win big prizes. That's not my particular story, but if you want to go deep on it, you can. All right, let's talk about what a flag is. A flag is usually some sort of encoded string that serves as an item, a token that you submit in the CTF that yields you points. So your job is to discover the flag for a given challenge. For this set of challenges, the flag will always start with Snyk in all caps, followed by a curly brace, followed by a long hex string, followed by a closing curly brace. And if you're like me, being a chaotic neutral, you might have been tempted to screenshot this slide and maybe this is a valid flag. It's not. So I want to save you a little time there. But if you were thinking that, good for you, because that's the way chaotic neutrals think. And that's good. That's good general thinking for CTF challenge. There are sometimes clues, and I've seen CTFs where like maybe it's a low point challenge where the flag is at the bottom of a giant scroll on the page. It's just sitting there, and people go through all kinds of convoluted ways to try to figure it out. So you want to think outside the box a little bit. All right, back to this. I want to give you an opportunity once more with this slide to join us on Discord. Register for the CTF. If you want to participate, really the only thing that's required is registering on using the link you see on the lower right there. Everything else is optional, but we welcome you to our Discord channel, and having a Snyk account will give you a leg up in the first challenge that we're going to do. It will give you a nice hint.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone. So be sure that you sign up for the CTF platform at least. And yeah, the DevSecCon Discord is the best way to keep in touch with all of your favorite folks from these streams. So definitely be sure to check that out, and feel free to reach out to us anytime. You can reach all of us in that Discord personally.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Kyle. So a little bit of housekeeping here. We have rules of engagement. So do share your progress in chat. Let people know that you've taken some ground, that you think you're getting close. And then people may DM you and ask you questions. You can feel free to DM other people. Now, this slide is a little out of date. There is no Q&A area. There is no hand to be raised to be unmuted. My screen just switched itself. There we go. So ignore that stuff. But the don'ts are important. Please don't drop spoilers in the Discord. So we want to have a good time. We don't want to spoil it for anybody else. So don't drop the direct answer in spoiler. And this is a general rule of CTFs. The goal is to discover or uncover the flag. The goal is not to hack the backend. So it's generally considered rude and might get you kicked out of a CTF if you go and try to launch a denial of service attack on the backend or try to hack the backend. The backends of these things are usually very lean, low power instances on Google Cloud or Amazon. They're not meant to be DDoSed. So just keep that in mind. The goal is to discover the flag, not to hack the backend. All right, so let's look at our first challenge, and I am not in the right place here, so bear with me a sec. And Kyle and Brian, you should totally feel free to interrupt me because I'm not looking at the Twitch chat or even the Discord chat right now. I'm kind of focused on what's in front of me. So please do interrupt me if anything comes up that we should address. But if you've registered here, you can now go over to the challenges. And I realized something. I think it's already, yeah, it's going to show these as already solved for me. I forgot to reset it, but that's okay. We'll work with that. So we have these two challenges that we're going to go through together. One's called Invisible Ink, one's called Sauerkraut. We also have a third challenge, which is a really hard challenge. But in case you get through the first two, you can feel free to hack at that one on your own. And by the way, this is going to live for at least a few days after this session. So you can feel free to come back to it, play around with it. We are going to reset it at some point. So you'll lose your access, but you can just go and re-register again if you want. So the first thing we want to do as CTF participants is gather all the clues that we can out of what the challenge is telling us. So the challenge is called Invisible Ink. That may or may not be useful to us, but you kind of want to put a pin in that. It's worth 50 points. That tells us that it's a relatively easy challenge. You can't draw a direct line from the point values. So we can't say that Sauerkraut, because it's worth 150, is exactly 3 times as hard as Invisible Ink, but we can say, generally speaking, it's going to be a harder one. This is going to be an easier one. We also hear that this is going to be a JavaScript challenge. So that's useful to know. Maybe you know a lot about JavaScript, maybe you don't, but when you start Googling around, it's going to be through the lens of JavaScript. We know that we have this link here. So we're going to be interacting with some sort of a website. We'll come back to that in just a minute. We also have a hint, and oftentimes you'll want to not click on the hint right away. Maybe that's there to give you a little help if you're stuck. In our case, we are going to look at that hint right away, and the hint is to go install Snyk. So if you created a Snyk account, you can go install the Snyk CLI. That also is not a requirement. You can always use the Snyk web interface if you want, but that's the hint for this challenge. Finally, we have these 2 files that you can download, and I encourage you to download them because in this particular case, we've been given the source code for this website. That's going to give us a huge amount of information, and you don't always get that. So generally speaking, when you're a CTF participant, you want to ask yourself, well, what do we know? Looking at this challenge, what do we know? We know there's a website at this address. We know that it's JavaScript based, and we know that we have these 2 files, package.json and index.js. Now let's talk a little bit about HTTP for a minute because we are dealing with a website, and I skipped. If you're not familiar with HTTP, it's worth talking a little bit about it. And we can relate it to a bulletin board, like a physical bulletin board. Imagine the old cork board with 3x5 index cards and like push pins. So HTTP is a protocol, and it has these things called methods, and that's how you interact with HTTP. And you're doing this every day if you're on the web at all. To get to Twitch, you likely went to twitch.tv, and that made a GET request of that website. Well, a GET request is like reading content from the bulletin board. It's like focusing in on one of the cards and seeing what's written on it. The post method is to place content on a board. So maybe you're taking a blank 3x5 card, writing some stuff on it, grabbing a push pin and putting it up on your bulletin board. That's kind of like what a post does. And finally, a delete is removing content from the board. So pulling out one of the push pins and getting rid of the card that was there. Now we're going to interact with this website in a specific way. And the first thing that I did was literally just click on the website.
Hey, Micah.
Yes.
Question for you.
Hit me.
Someone CNU1812 in chat was wondering, are there prizes as a result of this?
Yeah, I can answer that. I was actually typing a response, but now my computer is completely locked up. But since it's a guided CTF experience, it's more about getting the knowledge so that you can participate in CTF. It's not exactly a competition, so yeah, we're not giving out like first and second place prizes. This is more of an educational experience.
So the short answer is no, but at the end we have a bunch of links to other CTFs that will be handing out prizes that run regularly. And also, you'll see on this last slide, we're bringing back the larger CTF for SneakCon 2022. So keep an eye out for that as well. Good for now?
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, sweet. So when I clicked on this link, it opened up a new tab and it brought me to this web page. And this web page is now feeding me a bunch of information. What the web page is telling me is that if I post to this /echo endpoint with this specific content type and a body organized like this, that it's going to echo whatever I type back to me, along with some other information with a timestamp, a user IP address. And this, it's telling me that this is going to come back to this key value pair where the key is flag and the value is disabled. Now, kind of a CTF pro tip, anytime you see anything that has the word flag in it, that should kind of get your antenna up, because of course the whole point here is to uncover or get the system to reveal a flag to us. So that may be important later on. You want to put a pin in that. Now, this brings us to our first use of the command line, where we're going to follow these directions and interact with this endpoint. And to do that, I'm going to use curl. We talked about that being one of the requirements before. And to use curl, I'm going to first just hit this endpoint. So curl, if you've never used it before, is an HTTP client, much like your browser is an HTTP client, but it's a command line HTTP client, and it does not do the job of rendering pages the way your browser does. It's just going to dump back whatever it gets. So for instance, if I go to the front door using curl, we get back the HTML unrendered in its raw form, and here in the browser, we see it rendered. So for instance, we have an H2 request, an H2 tag with a request inside it. That's what makes the request kind of big and bold over here. So curl is just a command line HTTP client. And the instructions that we're given here are that we want to interact with the echo endpoint. So let me add that to the end here. Now, if you notice, it's telling me that it's giving me an error and it's saying cannot get /echo. So by default, curl is using the get method, but our instructions tell us we need to use the post method. Okay, fair enough. So let me switch over to the post method. The way you do that with curl is, and actually, let me get this, bear with me a second. Let me get this at the top of my screen. The way you do that with curl is like this, --X post. And we know that we want to interact with the echo endpoint. Let me try that. All right, interesting. It gave me a response, so that's pretty cool. But if you notice, it doesn't have any message in it. And that's because I didn't pass it in any message. So this tells me that I need to pass in a body with this formatted JSON. Now, the way that we do that with curl, we give it a -d, and then the way that you can pass, there's a bunch of different ways to pass JSON into curl. The easiest way is inside of quotes to put your JSON. So I've got single quotes, I've got open, close, curly brace. That's where we start. Then we're going to add a key, which must be in double quotes, followed by a colon, and then a value. So I'll say, hello, Twitch. How about that? Now, my expectation is that it's going to echo this back to me, just like we see over here. Let's see what happens. All right. It didn't echo it back to me. Why not? Anybody have an idea? Throw it into Twitch chat or throw it into the Discord channel if you're there. Why didn't it echo it back to me? I can't see it right now. So if somebody did throw something in there, feel free to interrupt me.
Well,
Anybody get it?
there's usually a
Not yet.
delay too, Micah. There's usually a delay, so we should
Oh,
account for that.
fair enough.
So people
It'll
can
I'll
see
pause.
that.
Seconds.
Pausing for the delay.
Yes.
Some Jeopardy music.
There we go. Nice. Tight. I'm kind of giving the answer on the screen right now if anybody's looking at it.
They can.
All right. So we can cut the music. So the missing piece here, and it's giving us this instruction, is that I need to pass it a content type. This is called a header, if you're not familiar with it. And it tells the system that it should expect application JSON. It should expect JSON data as the content type. Now, I didn't give it that header, so I'm going to do that now. So -H is the way that you do that. And we're going to say content type application JSON. And now I get the message back because I've properly formatted it. So this is kind of a general tip for CTF. Sometimes there are misdirects and misleads, but when it's telling you specific information like do this, you need to do that in order to get the expected result.
So Micah, are you saying that whatever somebody puts here as a JSON formatted string would be reflected in the output of the program?
I am saying that.
Interesting. Maybe that gives somebody an idea here.
Yeah.
Big hint. Big hint.
So, you know, the SAT words for what Kyle is saying is unsanitized input. Think about that for a moment. All right. Now, the last thing I want to set you up with before we give you a little bit of time to play with this yourself is make sure that you've downloaded the files because they're a gift for this problem. They will give you a lot of information. Now, I have a bunch more files here, but the important ones that we were giving are index.js and package.json. And if you're not familiar with NPM or Node.js projects, package.json, the important bit here are these dependencies. So this application that's running on the back end relies on these dependencies, one called Lodash, one called Express, one called Body Parser. And when you know information like this, there may be venues to ways in to exploit this application in such a way that it reveals a flag to you. So then once you have these two files and you have, assuming you have Node.js installed, you want to run npm install. And the reason that that's useful is because you then, if you've installed the Snyk CLI, you want to run Snyk test. That's going to give you a lot of help. Now, I'm not going to run it right now. I'm going to leave that to you because that's our big hint for this. But for now, I'm going to turn this back over to you for a little bit, let's say 5 minutes, give you an opportunity to hack away on it, and then we'll give a bigger hint about it. So let me see if I can manage this properly. Yeah, good music.
Can't help but bob my head with this. Nice, Micah.
Really? Right?
Look at the timer on your head.
So what should we
I'm
talk
registered.
about while people are hacking?
I'm
Good.
registered. I'm looking at Invisible Ink.
Let's talk about the implications of what we were discussing, maybe. So if you're able to inject, unsanitized input into an application, what's the worst thing that could happen? Chat, what do you think? If you can inject arbitrary strings, right, via application JSON, what do you think you could do with that?
I don't know. If I can run my own code then?
Yeah, the sky's the limit, right?
I could change the way things behave, maybe.
You know what would be really interesting? Hint incoming. If you could change pre-existing values.
Oh. Like something like a toggle that lets me have access to something or not? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you can even call it a flag if you'd like.
A flag.
Toggling a
Oh,
flag.
all right.
So if you can change things, if you can change the value of things, or memes on someone else's server, that's what our friend here from Fantastic Baby, and he is great. So I'm sure this is something. I'm sure he's speaking from experience. Maybe he did the Nicolas Cage dump that is so famous, where it changes every photo on your operating system to a picture of Nicolas Cage. So he's a meme lord. So
I did have a rogue access point once that all it would do if somebody connected to it is it would reverse all of the images on a page that they were navigating to in their browser. That was a fun project.
that's awesome.
I'm gonna
Meme
try. So
Lord.
instead of using curl, maybe I'll use VS Code has some extensions that let me do REST API requests.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna give that a
And
shot.
I will I'll throw in chat also just to, we went with curl just because it's kind of ubiquitous on Linux
Right.
and Mac for sure. I can't speak to Windows, but my personal favorite HTTP client, which I just threw in chat, is httpie.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one. I feel like there's so many clients like that.
Definitely.
You
Yeah.
know, and it's like, how do you choose? I mean, they're all essentially doing the same thing, right? Just in different ways.
So for the rest of the chat, Micah and I are actually together in the London office right now. He's like sitting right in front of me. So we actually did the CTF yesterday at the event live, and I saw somebody doing it using Postman. So you could do it using Postman. You can intercept and change requests using Burp Sweet Tooth. So you could definitely, just capture the normal request, modify parameters, and send it back to Burp Suite for all you security people who have that installed already. But yeah, you have tons of options. Really, anything that you could use to craft and send an HTTP request is, applicable to this sort of exercise.
I will show you, if anybody cares to look at my screen, one of the nice things about httpie. Here's our curl command above. One of the nice things about httpie is it's a little more terse. So I don't need like a switch for the post, and it's got this raw is the equivalent of what we saw above for the JSON, and then what it uses for headers I kind of like, which is it uses this terse kind of format, so you don't have to have the dash capital H and have it in everything in quotes. Let's see if I did it right on the first try. Haha. And it automatically will give you pre-print JSON. So when you're dealing with modern RESTful APIs and you want to use a command line, httpie is kind of nice in that way.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
like that.
now I have definitely mangled this clock because it it keeps not dropping the first number. So best intentions, and I messed it up. So I'm just gonna get rid of it for now, and we'll give you about another 2 minutes, and then we're gonna jump into our first hint.
All right. Back
Actually,
to the
I'll leave
music.
this up in case anybody needs it as a reference. There's the curl command.
Whoops. Wrong button. That was a cat. Content type.
I know what I did now with the timer.
Uh-oh, what was it?
I had it set for 5 hours instead of 5 minutes.
Oh. That'd be a really long stream, Micah.
Yes, right? All right, so let's do this. I am a professional, I promise. That is a rough color. Here we go.
Feel free to drop your progress in chat, folks. We'd love to see how you're doing. And if you have any questions or if anything's acting funky, feel free to just drop it in chat.
Yeah, and we'd love to know if anybody has solved it as we go along these 2 challenges. You should definitely brag if you solve it.
I'm trying over here. You know, this is my first time actually trying this. I've seen you both present this before, but I haven't tried it yet. And but I'm also trying to do multiple things at once here. So, you know.
Look, we don't need your disclaimers, man. Just, keep at it.
Let's see.
All right, let's get into a hint. How about we give a nice invisible ink hint?
Yes, please.
And let's see if right. Oops, that's not what I meant to do at all. Trying to get my little cheat sheet up here. It would help if I could. Oh, I did it again, Brian. I was just trash talking you, and now I can't even manage my browsers.
Ah, see.
That's what I
See,
get,
Eric
right?
is in the Discord chat hacking away at this
There we
too.
go. Nice.
Go, Eric.
Go, Eric. You got this.
Oh, I went too far. I went to the invisible ink solution. Okay, so here's our hint. Remember, for this one, the hint that we gave up front was using Snyk. And if you installed the CLI, by the way, what I'm doing here, you could do just as well on the web interface. You could just import a repo, but that would require you to have set this up as a repo. So you kind of got to choose what's easier for you. Well, do you want to install the Snyk CLI, or do you want to, make this into a GitHub project? Either way, once you run Snyk test on it, what comes up a bunch is what I want to draw your attention to is prototype pollution. That is definitely, there's a bunch of problems here, but prototype pollution is named 4 times. And if you're not familiar with JavaScript and you don't know what prototype pollution is, that's where we go over to Google and we say, well, what the heck is JavaScript prototype pollution anyway? Well, this is a nice first hit. It's a vulnerability that allows attackers to exploit the rules of the JavaScript programming language by injecting properties into existing JavaScript language construct prototypes, such as objects. Now, coming from the world of mainly Java, I do a lot of JavaScript. Prototypical inheritance is a little mind-bending to me, but we can loosely think of prototypes like classes. It's not a one-to-one match, but if you're familiar with .NET or Java or Python, you can think of prototypes kind of as the blueprints, and then the objects are the instances of those blueprints. Again, it's not exactly a one-to-one overlay, but it helps us think about it. So apparently, we can use prototype pollution to inject properties into these existing prototypes. Now, one of the nice things here about the output that we got is I get a URL that tells me some more information about this vulnerability. So I'm going to use that to investigate specifically what's going on with this particular issue. And if you notice, this vulnerability that we're being given information on, it's sitting here in Lodash. That was one of the packages that we saw was sitting there in package.json. And one of the nice things about these reports is oftentimes they have a POC, a proof of concept. Now, this is some JavaScript code, which maybe doesn't look familiar to me, but I can actually take this and just paste it in. And the punchline here is that it shows us what's in this object prototype, the top level object in JavaScript. It's going to show us what's in that prototype. Well, let's start by, I'm in the wrong place here, I think. Yes, let's start by taking a look at that up front. So you can run node from the command line, and I'm going to look and see what normally is in the object prototype. and it's basically empty. Open, close, curly brace. There's nothing in it. It's the top level object.
Kyle,
Now what
you
I'm going
okay
to
over
do,
there? Looked like he
Yeah,
fell almost.
I have the computer on like a pencil box so that you're not like looking up my nose. And I almost destroyed this Mac.
All right, well, I'm just going to let you look up my nose because I don't want my Mac to go flying. You should have said something like, you know, you tripped down a flight of stairs or something, because that's what it looked like.
Be way more interesting, right?
All right, so now I'm going to copy and paste this POC in. We get a bunch of output, but the important punchline here, and let me give some space, is that now the object prototype is polluted with these properties. Those properties didn't exist before, and now they do on the object prototype, and it's Lodash that allows us to do that, apparently. And it's got this, the POC here has this specially formatted string ___proto ___. That apparently is our gateway into leveraging, exploiting prototype pollution.
So really quick,
All right.
Micah,
Yeah.
to understand a bit better, are you in the repo for this invisible ink project, and that's where you're running that from?
Well, I haven't set it up as a repo, but I'm in the folder, and I ran npm install earlier. And what that does is it exposes these packages within this folder. So if we look at package.json, I now can, when I run node from the command line, I can now use Lodash because I installed it in this folder. And so when I look at the POC, the first thing that it does is require Lodash. Well, that works because of the fact that I ran npm install, and now it's available to me in this folder when I run node. So now that I have set up Lodash, I can call these functions like set with and set, and that's what does this prototype pollution on the object prototype.
Gotcha. I guess where, and I don't mean to put you on the spot with this, but like for
That's okay.
participants that are, doing the CTF, do they have access to that stuff to be able to run Snyk against it?
Yeah, they should. If you've installed the Snyk CLI, you can do exactly what I did, which is to run Snyk test. And if you have Node.js installed and you do npm install, this isn't like totally important for you to know, but behind the scenes, when you run npm install, it creates this, wow, I really am in the wrong place now, node modules folder. And inside that node modules folder, it's got a lot of dependencies and dependencies of dependencies, but somewhere in here, it's got Lodash. So that's what gives us access to Lodash. Now, if you're not familiar with any of that, don't worry about it. You know, the goal here is not to learn JavaScript. The goal is to get a flag, right? And this is also a good tip for CTFs in general. Like, we're not trying to go deep here. We're not trying to do deep learning on JavaScript. We're trying to learn just enough so that we can trick this system into giving us a flag.
I gotcha.
Now,
I
the
guess what I
last
was
thing,
missing, what I missed, sorry to interrupt again, but what I was missing,
no, all
Micah, is
good.
I didn't see, I overlooked it on the CTF site that I could download the package JSON and the index.js file. I didn't realize that was there. So that's why I was like, well, I'm just going to a website, like how do I get access to that website's source code that you linked there? But I get it now.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point. And it's often not the case that we get the source code. In this particular case, these two files here, and it's easy to overlook them, are sitting here in the Invisible Ink challenge. And when you click on them, you can download them. So you want to definitely download these two files, because the last part of the hint that we're going to give here is to take a look at now, this is where the editor of your choice comes into play. I'm using VI here, but if we look at the source code, we see something interesting. So first thing to notice that I would notice is that there's this flag variable, and it's reading in a flag file from the file system. So on the back end, on this web server that we're interacting with, in memory, it has the flag. Now we want to trick it into showing us that flag. So if we look a little further down, you'll notice that there's an if statement here on line 27. And this statement is saying if options.flag, that's shorthand for if options.flag is true, then in the output that comes back to us, it's going to replace it with flag, with the value of the flag. Otherwise, it's just going to show us disabled. And if you remember from our output before, every time we interact with the endpoint, we get back as part of it flag disabled.
So, Micah, we talked about overwriting values, right? So if we're looking at that logic, it's clear that by default, flag is disabled, right?
That's right.
So I think you folks probably see where we're going with this.
Yeah, remember, unsanitized output. So another line that maybe is worth looking at is here is where we're using Lodash. It's common to represent it as an underscore. Don't let that throw you. That's just the handle, the variable, if you will, for Lodash. And we're using Lodash's merge function to take the body, what you've sent to it, again, unsanitized, and we're merging that with the output. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to leave this up on my screen. This is the end of the hint. Let's see if I can do this right this time. Put 5 minutes on the clock, not 5 hours. Actually, let's make it 3 just in the interest of time, because I would love to be able to introduce the next problem, at least the next challenge. But I will put that up and have at it. And do throw in chat, either in the Twitch chat or in the Discord channel, any questions that you have, requests for hints, progress that you're making. Definitely brag if you solve it.
And I'm trying here. All right, let's get some music going.
So some other really interesting things that you could do with prototype pollution, if you think about it, if you're forging requests and you're changing, and we're going to be talking, so if you're going to focus, you can totally turn this off and watch this in the VOD later or watch it in the YouTube video. It will be on YouTube. But the idea here, right, think of it this way. Maybe I'm ordering some pizza and I'm ordering it on Uber Eats. If, if I sort of like am able to pollute the prototype for an order, which maybe has like the food that you're getting, the user account you're ordering it from, the address, right? If I can pollute the prototype, perhaps on maybe one of these food delivery apps, and I can sort of, manipulate data that was somebody else's, like the credit card or the address or something like that. You could deliver pizzas to somebody's house or deliver their food to your house, perhaps, right? Hypothetically. Or maybe if there were prototype pollution in Twitter, right? Maybe I would be able to tweet as Micah. And I could say,
dangerous.
I'm a big chaotic neutral troll. And, tag all of his best friends, right? So if you can pollute prototypes, right, well, the sky's the limit. And that's why it's really important to sanitize data, because people can abuse and misuse and, sort of break down the barriers between what's permissible functionality and what is outside of the realm of, what should ideally, from a business use case perspective, be possible.
Oh, so I don't want to give anything away, I guess. I don't think I am giving anything away, but my thought process as a noob to this is essentially then I should pass something in the payload, the post request, to this route to try and manipulate the output so that I can get the flag value. It's kind of the objective here, right?
Definitely
Am
on
I
the
onto
right
something?
track.
Okay,
Yep.
and then I need to kind of understand a little bit prototype pollution to figure out what it is I should put in the post body that will give me that end result that I'm looking for.
Another little hint here, since you're so on the right path, and I think everybody's sort of like probably at this point, what Brian's saying is 100% correct. You want to find a POC, or a proof of concept, as we call them, for a prototype pollution vulnerability, right? You've used Snyk to identify the version of Lodash and the vulnerabilities that are in it, but now you need to see how to execute that vulnerability. To exploit that vulnerability, rather. Apologies.
Yeah, so we're kind of, you want to operate a little like Sherlock Holmes, and it's not important to have this really deep knowledge of JavaScript yet, but you can. So even if you don't 100% know what's going on in this POC, there's a couple of clues that we've been given along the way here. So we know Lodash is an issue, and we know that this app is using Lodash. We know that we're probably talking about prototype pollution, and prototype pollution is accomplished with Lodash using this kind of special format here, underscore underscore proto underscore underscore.
Mm.
Now, this proof of concept might not be exactly what you need, but it gives you kind of, it sets you along the path of maybe doing some more Googling to discover what will get you to the point of being able to manipulate this output object that's going to come back to you so that it includes the value of the flag. All right, we're at time. So let's go on to the solution.
All right.
All right, now before we go on to the solution, did anybody solve it? Just curious. And again, remember, like my record or my usual kind of cadence here is 3 out of 20. So if you didn't get it, don't feel bad. But I'm just curious if anybody was able to solve it.
Give it a second or two.
Some reference. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, bro.
No, I was just saying, let's give it a second or two for the stream delay to see if anybody responds
Yeah.
that they were able to do it.
Definitely. And, don't feel discouraged. A lot of CTFs, like Micah said, even if you've done so many, such like Micah, a lot of it's going to be failing. A lot of it's going to be bashing your head against the wall. Even if you're an extremely experienced programmer and you understand how to code and you understand these languages and these ecosystems and things like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have an easy time with the challenges. The challenges are meant to be, challenging. So I'd say, challenges like this could take people hours, right? And this is a pretty introductory challenge, but it could take an hour, it could take 2 hours. You could bark up the wrong tree a couple times, fail a lot, keep trying the same thing, keep failing. So I think it's definitely not a sign that you're doing something wrong exactly. You're just figuring out all the ways not to do the solution, right? So I think it's extremely valuable to fail a lot.
All right, so let's get back to this. And what I'm going to do here is a naive approach, maybe first try might be to just say flag true, right? Because we know if we can trick it into making the flag true, it'll send us back to flag because that's what the code told us.
I did try something like that. I tried flag and enabled.
What did I do wrong here? Oh, nice. That's a great approach, actually. And I messed something up here. Let's see, what did I do wrong? A comma, I got flag true. So write to me. This is what we call the demo monster.
I think it
All right,
still needs
fine.
to be a string. True. Like the
true is valid JSON.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, let's see.
No, okay, never mind.
Oh, bad illegal format, missing URL. All right, we've kind of dodged the demo monster up to this point. Let's just go back to there. I disable using bad illegal format or missing URL. Interesting. Hold, please. Oh, duh. I forgot to put the dash D in. We need the dash D. All right, bear with me a second. All right, so let me go to the top. Dash D. There we go. Here's our original thing. Message, hello. Now I want to try to add that. The key does have to be in quotes. That's just part of the JSON standard. Flag true. There we go.
Right.
All right, so no effect, right? So that didn't do it. In the interest of time here, let's look at the actual answer. So what the POC told us is that we need a special format here to accomplish prototype pollution. And so this may become a little harder to read, but what we're looking at is the key is proto and the value is embedded JSON, and that embedded JSON is flag true.
Oh, look at that.
I got this response. And if we take one last look at the code, what's happening is that our unsanitized input __ proto is being merged into out. That pollutes out with the value of __ proto, and it sets this property called flag to true. Then when we look at options.flag, that is now true. And so it's going to output this flag that it read in from the file system. So that's the punchline here. And if I come back and I paste the flag in and I click submit, it's telling me I already solved this because I forgot to reset it, but that is the value of the flag. And if you did this, you'd now get your 50 points, and we can move on to the next one.
Awesome. So yeah, just another word about like why this is really important. If you think about it, you know, when you're acting on data that a user is inputting, it could be anything. You shouldn't trust that data. So if you do, right, that's when problems like this arise, and people can sort of, you know, push the perimeter functionality of your app somewhere where it shouldn't go.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, there's a number of better fixes for this, but one thing we might do is just get very specific. Rather than merging the entire body, we could just say, you know, the only thing we care about here is message. So we want to have the output include a message, and we're going to include the message from the body, and that's it. Now, the message itself is still unsanitized, so maybe I could still mess around. So this is kind of like an improvement, but maybe not the best way. But just as an example, that's one way that we might start to, you know, ignore other things that were sent in from the body. All right.
One more thing, actually.
Yeah.
So Eric brought up a great point. Eric was looking into command injection, which is also a Lodash vulnerability. So like Mike is saying, if somebody finds a way to utilize a message to like, you know, inject a command, then, you know, that's as well. So I think, you know, Eric is a pro. You know, Eric knows a lot about technology, programming, containers, just about everything in the stack. So, you know, just to show you how hard these things are, right? Like even us professionals, even myself, right? I've done a lot of CTF, Mike's done a lot of CTF. Sometimes, you know, we bark up the wrong tree. We spend hours and hours trying to do something one way, and then we figure out we need to do it a completely different way.
Yeah, very good. All right, so we're at time, so we're not going to get into the second one here, but you can go to the CTF 101 site and play around with this. That Discord channel is forever, so feel free to join there and ask us questions about it. And I want to make sure that you all get a chance to see this reference where different organizations are running CTFs all the time, sometimes for like some pretty decent prizes. And you know, I do it for fun. I do know other people that do it for you know, the street cred and the prize money. That's not me personally, but I do enjoy them a lot. So feel free to check out these other ones. Also, make sure you do stay tuned. SneakCon 2022 is on November 8th, and we'll be making announcements about that soon. And it will include a CTF again, and we'll have some new challenges. So any last words here?
Yeah, I'd love to say, you know, if you are interested in checking out the second challenge, go ahead and give it an attempt. If you want some hints, let us know in Discord. We'll give you some hints since we didn't get to go over it. And yeah, if you're just looking for maybe the video walkthrough and you've been attempting the second challenge, feel free to reach out to me. We don't have the second challenge's result published yet, but John Hammond, who is one of our great friends over at Hunter's Lab, actually published a video on the first challenge that we just did and the second challenge that we were about to do. So if you look up John Hammond Snyk CTF on YouTube, you'll find it. Sauerkraut and Invisible Ink. So yeah, feel free to reach out. If you don't want to spoil it for yourself, just reach out to us on Discord. We'll give you like little hints here and there, and you can work your way through it. If you want to just know the solution, there's that John Hammond video, or I can give you the video that we have done if you message us in Discord.
I'm looking at it right now. Is it the one that's using Snyk to find and fix vulnerabilities, hack the box one from him?
Sorry, I'll drop a link.
Okay. All right. While you're doing, no worries. While you're doing that, I'm gonna remind everybody that we're having more streams on the channel here. that they can tune in for. So if you enjoyed this, we'll probably do more of these CTF 101s sessions. Maybe we'll do another one where we start with the second one, Micah and Kyle. I think that might be fun to do to help folks with
Sure.
that. Um,
Yeah.
but in the meantime, this whole month of what month are we in? May. We're doing JavaScript related focused streams, and we have a couple more coming up for next week to prepare everybody on. So I think Micah, you're actually going to be doing a JavaScript live hacking one on Tuesday, May 17th at 12 p.m.
Hooray.
Eastern. And then we got another one. It's going to be Thursday, May 19th. I'm going to be doing where we're going to be just checking out fellow JavaScript developers that live stream, particularly on Twitch. We're going to be highlighting some of their fun moments of where they have some successes or maybe some bloopers or fails and stuff like that, and just help promote other JavaScript developers that are live streaming their work, their content that they're doing on the platform, which is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it, and it's cool to see some of the funny stuff that happens on stream.
That sounds awesome, Brian. I had no idea you were doing this.
Yeah, you want to join me for it? It's if you got the time, if your calendar fits for it. Okay, we'll talk. In addition to that, developer Steve and Vandana are going to be doing their usual. Every week they do This Week in VulnDB. That's going to be, it's 4 a.m. Eastern, but if, because they're over in the APJ region. So if you can make that, or you're up maybe, or maybe you wake up that early and you're getting a workout in or something, and you want to learn about the latest vulnerabilities that are out there, developer Steve and Vandana are analyzing the latest vulnerabilities in our VulnDB database. So you can learn more about that fun stuff. All right.
And remember, folks, as vulnerabilities come up, there'll never be less vulnerabilities in the world. There'll always be more. We have the trends and the data to prove it. But one way that you can stay secure, stay ahead of the game, and stay informed is by monitoring your projects with Snyk. If you run Snyk Monitor in your CLI, your project will be added to Snyk. It'll be scanned every day, and when we add new vulnerabilities to the VulnDB, either from our security researchers' unique, high quality research, or from the rest of the community publishing them, such as MITRE or GitHub or anybody else, we aggregate all of that. We provide the best POCs. We provide the best solutions. We provide code examples, and we really just love informing people about this stuff. So that is one way you can stay ahead of the curve, protect your assets, and make sure that you don't get pwned.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Kyle. And for folks that maybe didn't gather all this and you want to see, we have a link you can go to, snyk.co/js, for all the JavaScript related stuff coming up with live streams, blog posts, and all kinds of fun stuff that can help you out with the security related to your JavaScript projects. So be sure to check that out. Posting that on the screen real quick, snyk.co/js. All right. That's it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, Micah and Kyle. Appreciate it. I learned a lot. And we'll see you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.